Hi everyone.
Yay.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm especially happy that we have gotten to this part of the journey and that we actually completed it. I work as an English-Hungarian translator and interpreter, and my job mostly has to do with helping self-development and educational professionals create more revenue and reach more clients through using my services like translation, interpretation, and a lot of other tasks that might be related to this.
In Hungarian and English, right?
In Hungarian, yes. My working languages are Hungarian and English.
Yeah, you can make promo in this in this video.
Okay, all right.
Let's
so if any of you, sorry.
Yeah, say yeah.
No, you just encouraged me to
do it.
have a promo. I just said, I know all of you or most of you who are going to be watching this video, you are actually my ideal clients. So if any of you have considered maybe breaking into a new market or considered working with Hungarians, I'm very happy to help you out.
Yeah, mostly educational material for things in personal development, or if they want to translate it into English.
Or if you have an online course, because nowadays everybody is moving into the digital space. I also have experience with that, and I'm enjoying helping people to reach more people and connect. Yeah.
Tell them why they should work with you. We will go back in the beginning, but tell them why they should work with you.
You're killing me.
Yeah, I'm not killing you. I'm challenging you. Yeah.
So the reason I love this topic and this field, self-development, is because it is something that has actually had a profound impact on my own life. When I was out of university and I got my first job, I just took up a job because I needed to have a job. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I felt kind of lost, and at that first job, I realized I feel kind of nervous. I always struggled with communicating with people. I didn't really feel very confident in my own self and in my own skills. So I thought there's got to be something I can do, to change this, because it was not ideal, and I felt I didn't really have a direction in my life. And it just so happened on one occasion I was strolling through the bookstore, because reading books has always been a big part, has played a big part in my life. And I came upon a book by Tony Robbins, which is called Unleash the Giant Within. And I started reading it, and it really put me on a new journey of self-discovery. And also, that first job that I had, it also played a very important role in my life at that time, and because it was a self-development in a training coaching company, and I had the chance to attend a lot of their programs, and I realized I wanna be in this space, but not just be in this space, but work with people, because I experienced how these programs, how these opportunities to work with people have the chance and the power to turn people's lives around, to develop them and enable them and give them the possibility to be who they are, to use their skills, to become confident, and to find their own self, basically. So this is why I decided and I chose this field to be also my field of expertise for my translation and interpretation. Why also you should work with me is because when you work with me, you get a guarantee from a top professional who communicates clearly, always delivers on time, and is passionate about always delivering high quality for all the clients. So basically that's it. I kind of diverted and went off. So that
No, I totally
explains.
agree. Just before this call, I
Yeah.
had a conversation about a lot of freelancers that I work with, that often it's not the problem that they can't deliver. Sometimes the problem is that they don't communicate or they don't tell what's going on. I think some people just want to have clarity. And I think that's one of the things that I'm also looking for in people that I work with. And I worked with you on like high performance, mindset, habits, and also like sales. But that was also a big important part, I think, that we worked on, the confidence in yourself and the confidence in your message. Maybe you can take people a bit back on just before we started, like where you were or what your challenges were or where you were at. So maybe other people can have something like, hey, yeah, that's a bit like me.
Yeah. So at about the time we met, I had already worked as a freelancer for about 5 years, but it was more like a side gig. And I've always been in an employment relationship with different companies. But at the same time, I really felt I was a little bit stuck. I knew that this was not the ideal place I wanted to be in, but I didn't really know how to get out of it. I didn't feel I had the direction, but most importantly, I didn't feel like I had the skills and the tools to set me on a new track. And so I was just going on and doing the same thing over and over again, but not really getting far. So it was a rather frustrating place, and that is professionally speaking. Should I also share a little bit about what was happening inside here?
I think that's the most important tip. I think like that's the most powerful thing, but that's most people are afraid to talk about that. But that is like because I met you like in Hungary. I live in Hungary, and you're also doing internal work, right? I remember that you started reading a book that was very inspiring to you.
Yeah, I believe life is the best teacher, and coming across people can be sometimes the biggest gifts. And last year, I also, just the things that were happening in my life, I also met some people that put me on the track of looking more on the inside and finally facing some of the things that I've been ignoring, and my ever-growing stack of stuff that I kept putting on the shelf. And they had to do with a lot of fears, a lot of uncertainties, and mostly the darker or the shadowy side of me. I had a very hard time with integrating and accepting that I'm not perfect. and that had caused quite a big divide in how I saw myself and what I allowed people to see from me. And because I had this crazy urge to always be good, always do things well, always do things not just well, but as perfect as possible, I was pretty much burning myself to the ground, using up all my energies, and I would do a lot of crazy things just to keep people happy around me, but not considering what I wanted or what made me happy or how I really felt on the inside. So I actually struggled with a lot of anxiety and a lot of depressive thoughts, and just was not willing to face it, was not willing to look at it, and it had taken up so much energy on the inside and in the back. I wasn't even aware of it until it all just started to break loose and come forth. So yeah.
And what do you think was the catalyst to finally start facing it or move forward? Because I know a lot of people, they wrestle with this for like years and a long time. Can you talk a bit to that aspect or that way of thinking of people, like what it was like and what made you finally make a different decision?
Actually, I went through a very, very interesting breakup where there were messages exchanged, and after a couple of days I read through all the things that I wrote, and it was shocking to see it was shocking to see how I was thinking. I just had this moment where I could look at the whole thing almost more objectively. I managed to distance myself from the whole situation, and I saw all the hurt that was coming up but was not really related to that person and that situation. All the projections that were coming up, all the basically just saw this little hurt girl that was waiting to be heard and waiting to be noticed. And it was very unpleasant at first, and it really got me scared. And my intuition works really well. So the concept, I had heard about the concept of the inner child, for example, but I was not really doing any research, didn't read anything about it. And at that point, when I realized, oh my gosh, all these things actually go back to my past and a lot of hurts and a lot of unresolved issues, I immediately searched for this keyword, inner child, and I found a book by an Australian psychologist. They have a retreat center, I think, somewhere in Australia. The book is called Heal for Life. I'm not going to be able to name the author. I'm terrible with authors lately because I went through so many books. So please, please excuse me. But if you check Heal for Life, I'm sure you will find it. The point is, it has helped me to open up and finally just allow myself to look at what's going on inside. And it had a lot of hands-on exercises, a lot of guidance in it. But I kind of felt alone in this whole process. This was sometime in January, February, and I think we ran into each other sometime end of February, beginning of March, something like that. So that's why I said I really find that running into people, or I call it running into people, or meeting people can be such a life-changing experience, because when we met, I really was at a place where I felt I need someone who can help me plow through all this that's inside, who's not afraid of the darker or the shadowy side of a person. Yeah.
And that's also, and I find there's a lot of times with more female clients that they realize the importance of mindset. But what if people listen to this and would say like, mindset, shadow work, what the hell does that have to do with becoming a high performer, being productive, or becoming good at sales?
What I realized through this whole process was how much of my own way of thinking was in the way of actually realizing my own dreams and becoming who I really want to be. And by this I mean I've had a lot of negative self-talk. I had an immense amount of doubt inside that I was not able to control or help or manage. And they had all kept me in a rut. They had all kept me stuck, living small and not taking risks, not stepping out despite having had the right preparation, done a lot of studying, perfected my skills, I still doubted who I was and what I was able to do. And despite of having completed huge projects, have had a lot of returning clients, excellent feedback and reviews, I still doubted myself. And I think when people don't take that into account and when they don't resolve it, they don't give a chance to themselves to actually be who they can be. I don't know, did that answer your question?
I think it resonates with a lot of people, both the fear of failure and both the fear of success, that people actually, this is one of the most weirdest things ever, that people are more afraid of success than failure, because success would allow them to become someone different than they're used to. So that is completely uncomfortable to do that. So that's the weird thing, that because we worked a lot with stories and with like patterns, and we also, and I'm a bit annoying that way, but you know why? I was not able, etc. That you just said, actually, that's not true. You didn't make the choice to do it, right? And I always stress a lot that it's a matter of a choice, and that you have more ownership of the decisions that you make or how you handle circumstances than we think we do. So
yeah, and I was the queen of giving away my power and not taking charge of my own life. Yeah.
For people who want to know a bit like how I work or what the process was for you, could you outline a bit like what we worked on or what the elements of the journey were?
Okay, I'll try to remember. Maybe I should cheat a little bit.
Don't cheat. I like to keep my things organic, so people see like it's not a script and it's not a robot on the side. So maybe just talk a bit maybe in the beginning, or what we worked on, or what improved, or what was like challenging, so people have a little bit idea of the process and what I can help people with.
Yeah, in the beginning we actually worked quite a lot on developing a new habit. So when we started working, that was when actually COVID hit, and
Yes.
and I was in a semi-panic, feeling locked and limited, on top of everything.
On top of being locked and limited.
Yeah. So in the very beginning, we worked on developing new habits and developing habits that give a frame to the day, but also that include element of self-care, and not just physical, but also something that's good for the soul and for mentally as well. Excuse me. So that was quite tough for me. In the beginning, I was very motivated because I felt like, yeah, I'm going to show everyone I can develop.
Little Miss Perfectionist, right?
Yeah. I had very high drive. I wanted to impress my coach that I am, that I'm good at developing new stuff. But of course, a few days into it, I realized, oh my gosh, I am not doing this for anybody else, but for myself. And I started to see how my mood had improved. And especially after the first week, I saw how setting a time, for example, as simple as a time, setting a time for bed, when you go to bed or when you get up, committing to working out every day, or having some quiet moments and either meditating or praying, for example. I come from that kind of background that had completely pulled me out from that kind of negative mindset or self-talk that I was in. And the other very big thing that actually I found instrumental and has stayed with me ever since, and I think I'm gonna stick to it, is journaling and getting into the habit of writing a gratitude journal. That had completely turned my attitude toward my circumstances, what I have, what I want to have. And through writing, I've always loved writing, and it's part of my profession. But when I'm writing about things that are happening inside, or when I just focus on one topic, those are the times when I realize, when I have the largest realizations. Those have been the most instrumental moments during this whole journey. Just doing journaling, yeah.
And also regarding the habits, you choose it, right? It's not that I make everyone journal or everyone pray, whatever it's a matter of you choosing the things that are important in your life. I don't like one size fits all approaches. It depends on your lifestyle and personality. So
yes, and with the habits, I chose to add on to the list a couple of tasks that were actually part of the coaching process, either reading a book or doing the I'm trying to remember, it hasn't been so long ago. I'm gonna cheat.
It doesn't matter, you know. Mostly in the beginning, we set up some habits to make sure you have some stability and you can nourish your soul, your body, your relationships. And with my mentorship, I also follow up people and hold them accountable to set some actions or tasks to make sure that they move the needle and they work on some things that they know are important, right?
Yes.
Because then you have that extra support, but also a little bit extra pressure, like, yeah, I said I was going to do it, so you know, it's still on my list. But all in a way of being encouraging and supporting you, not be like the judgmental father who says like, why didn't you do this, etc. In the end, the power of the mentorship is in your hands, right? But it's good to have someone by your side to have deeper and more honest conversations with yourself, right? I think a mentor or a coach is kind of like a mirror and reflects back for people to have more honest, deeper conversations with themselves.
Yeah, and I think you did a great job with that, because I went through very different phases and stages, and sometimes I needed a tougher approach, like it's really time for you to do it, or probably you picked up on me being at a more sensitive spot and you were more encouraging. So I really appreciated that. But going back to the mindset tasks, I think two of the most instrumental exercises that I found were the sentence completion and the voice dialogue. And they each marked a kind of a milestone, because with completing each of them, going through the different sections, I had more and more realizations and the things that actually were inside. It was almost like going through an inventory of who I was and of all the experiences I have collected so far.
Yeah, maybe you can explain a bit for people who are not aware of sentence completion, maybe a short description, what that actually is or how that works. You know, I also think it's one of the most powerful tools that I use.
The sentence completion is a collection of sentences that touch on various different topics, starting with how people relate to themselves, what they feel and what they think when it comes to their connections. So it mostly covers things like early childhood, relationship with parents, the inner child, what happened in the teenage years, how they see how their mother influenced them in their development, how their father had influenced them in their development, if they have siblings or if they have children. And it also has a second part which talks about, which covers all the different kinds of relationships. So for me, there had been a lot of sentences and a lot of parts that I kept avoiding or I kept putting aside, because I felt it was the most painful, or it was the most feared topic, but I kept going back to it, and I had the biggest resistance toward this exercise because they were actually prodding and pulling on the things that wanted to be seen, and this is why they had such a big impact on me. Yes.
Well, why is it important to get insight into these elements of your life, or why is it important to work on these things for people who are not familiar with it, or what did you get out of those exercises?
Because we generally are not aware of our own methods of how we function, how we think. We have a lot of subconscious reactions to things, and how we treat people, how we treat ourselves, how we behave, and it also influences the way we choose things, or what we accept and what we don't accept. So basically, it affects our whole life. And what I realized was that there had been a lot of things that I had basically copied and inherited, and they were not really something that me at this time and age would necessarily agree with. But I didn't even know that it was there, and it was influencing my way of thinking, how I live, how I make decisions, or why things affect me in the way they do. So I think it's very important to be aware, especially when it comes to relating to either parents, or if somebody's in a relationship relating to their love, a man and a woman, or even to their siblings. And then relating to work, relating to money, and the list goes on.
And what is voice dialogue for people who are not aware of it?
Voice dialogue. Voice dialogue is basically having a conversation with the different parts of the self, and like a big role in Anikó's life is my perfectionist self, and she has been my biggest drive and my motivator, the strongest pusher, and the most cruel critic, and also like a slave. What is this? Like slave owner. And I actually owe a lot of my success to her, but also a burnout, and I also owe my largest, not largest, my most depressing and frustrating moments, the anxiety, performance anxiety in most cases. And so this dialogue basically also helps you to become aware of the different aspects of who you are, and the different needs of these selves, basically. Because I don't know if you had found yourself in a situation where everything went well, you felt happy, maybe you had the right job, you had the right girl, the right guy, but there was something still tugging on you, but you didn't really know what it was. And what I found, especially in these past couple of months, was it was a part of me, and the need of that part that I was not taking into consideration. For example, I love creative things, and I have always sang ever since I have a memory. I come from a family where music was very important, and been singing in choir, in a band. I love creative things, and I love just being free, flying all over the place. And for example, when I burn myself out in a lot of work, where I focus on just doing things that I think are important, but I do not take into consideration the need of this part of me, then at some point I feel still unfulfilled, I feel unhappy, I feel like something is missing or something that I'm not paying attention to. And to me, basically, just becoming aware and finding out the different needs and that are still there had been a great revelation. And not talking about that these different parts have different ideas about how to solve or how to approach a problem. So I feel I have become a lot more creative in finding solutions to things and to problems.
Yeah, I often also use like nonviolent communication, which often has to do with finding underlying needs, and you're happy when the need is fulfilled and you're unhappy when you have a lack of a need.
Mm-hmm.
And the three things that I use is trigger therapy / nonviolent communication, voice dialogue, and sentence completion.
Yeah.
Because then you can sentence completion, see where things come from, where does the story originate, what associations do you have with certain aspects in your life that often are inherited. With trigger therapy, you can find like, what's the need here? Why does this affect me so much? Like, what is something that I really want? And with the voice dialogue, you can find the different types that almost like possess you. And there's like dominant types. You can have the lazy part, the productive part, the people-pleasing part, the narcissistic part, romantic part, etc. We have a lot of different parts in ourselves that sometimes, depending on the trigger and the situation, they take over. And just as you said, often you said, I think I should do this. I want to do this. And sometimes then I challenge my clients like I did with you, like, is this is this you, your integrated you, or is this a dominant aspect in yourself that says you have to do it? And when you often are a pusher or a perfectionist, often that personality takes the front seat, takes all the energy, takes all the attention. And that's the paradoxical thing often in high performance and mindset, that you're actually more productive when you also fulfill other needs and that other characters play out and then play with each other and fulfill each other's needs than when all the other important aspects, rest, play, relaxation. I work a lot with workaholics or perfectionists or people pleasers who exhaust themselves. Then they never get to play. They don't get attention. You know, it's all about primary thing is serving that very dominant personality. And it just takes a bit of joy and the pleasure and excitement and fulfillment out of life. So in a short way, that's a bit how I create insight from things in the past, finding out what you really need, and then having a dialogue with your higher self, integrated self, and those different aspects, and find a better way to help them cooperate instead of fighting against your integrated self or against other selves, right? So what you often will see if somebody is a workaholic, they hate being lazy because they associate completely with workaholic or perfectionist, you know, so often they judge the other aspect. But if you delve a bit deeper and you have an openness to talk with that part, it's like, is this overworking yourself, little miss perfectionist or little Mr. Perfectionist, really helping you? Then it probably say like, yeah, actually I'm doing a bit too much, etc. But it's afraid to delegate some authority to the lazy aspect or relaxing. But when you start doing that and you find more balance, often the paradoxical thing is that you do feel more energetic, more productive, and it's actually beneficial. But it's giving a role to an unacknowledged character in the background and like being uncertain, because those dominant types, just as a perfectionist, they're not only negative, they got you where you are. They want to protect you, or they think you can't take care of it. But then it's developing trust with yourself and those selves to say like, it's going to be fine. And then you start developing a new relationship with yourself and yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said so many times during this process, these realizations and just unearthing all these things had freed up so much energy, because I tend to overthink things or just have these crazy dialogues inside. But I was not able to pinpoint and find how to resolve it or what the point of these dialogues were. And
Yeah, and you're also much more open about it to talk about it and have that relationship with those aspects that maybe you don't like or you find still a bit difficult. But I remember in the coaching, and everybody goes through that, all my clients, you froze a bit or you felt a bit guilt. I call it sometimes like running in mud. You move forward, but it still feels a bit dirty and like nasty and going through that process. So to allow oneself to have a conversation with that aspect that is like pushed away or not acknowledged, or you're afraid it's going to take over, that's a bit of a journey, right? Like I had this, all my clients have this, but I sense that you come from a different place that is more curious, more open to deal with that without like judging it or pushing it away than when we started working on it, you know.
Well, it was tough, let me tell you this, because especially my more dominant side had or wanted nothing to do with the things that I call or whatever the study calls, the process calls, the darker or the shadowy side of a person's personality. But all this actually gave me so much more balance and also so much more confidence in my own ability to handle whatever comes. And especially having used the trigger therapy, I no longer need to write things down, but I've done the process so many times that especially if I feel triggered, something happens, I just go through real quickly, like what's happening, what I feel, what do I feel, what my reactions, what are my needs, what do I want to do? So I go through this real quick and I'm able to resolve and get out of it instead of being stuck there for hours, days, or weeks that had happened before. So they had really given me, I'm talking these tools, so much, I feel so much power to manage whatever's happening here. Yeah.
In your haircut.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
And the other part that we also focused on, because I also think that habits and mindset give like a good foundation. We also worked it on your marketing and setting up your, which you're already doing a bit, but I always see the vision bigger and better than my clients have. So I see you as an expert consultant, anybody who want to have their personal development education material in Hungarian to English or in English. Get Anikó now, because they're only going to go up in price and investments. It's better to contact her now. Tell a bit about how the process was of setting that up, developing your sales confidence and setting up those elements.
I felt I didn't really know how to approach this whole thing and how to structure it. So there were a lot of things flying all over the place in my head.
Because you had your maps and your structure on your computer and you had like tons of material organized.
Yes, because I had already taken some courses online in marketing and branding and started writing some content. The previous year I had a website, but I took it down because it was not really the design. I was completely dissatisfied with the content, and mostly because I could not find myself in the content. I felt I could not identify with what was there, but I didn't really know how to get it out of me, if it makes sense. So basically doing this the self-branding part with you had allowed me to find my own voice and to also find a structure to present who I am, talk about my services, how I do what I do, and to basically also find a starting point, and that had been, I think, the most important thing for me, coming from a completely jumbled up, chaotic state to finding structure.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I love to do with my
finding
CSI
clarity.
method: clarify, simplify, implement. First clarify things, then simplify it. So it's simple and clear for you, which makes you even be more confident. And that confidence is very attractive when you can say something clearly, concisely, simplified, and it actually goes to the core of what you want to offer, and it connects with what your ideal client actually is looking for. And I made you do some mock sessions, right? With to step into the identity. Yeah.
This whole process, anyone you want to work with, get ready to constantly be pushed out of your comfort zone. No matter how much I try to resist it, I have to do all the things. I felt like I had to do all the things that were not comfortable at all. So mocking sessions, yes, they had been something that I was terrified of in the beginning, but I've done so many sessions that they had completely increased my confidence. You didn't see it all, by the way.
I saw it in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, they increased my confidence and also gave me an opportunity to get comfortable being seen. This has been something that I was scared of. And so I actually enjoyed it towards the end, especially with already having clarified and found the structure for how to phrase and say who I am and what I do.
Yeah, to tell your story, to know who you want to work with, to pre-qualification to attract ideal clients and make sure you set the standards. That is always a challenge for people who are more people-pleasing and are more from an employee mindset and servant mindset. You know, that they become like an employee and then they say like, oh my God, you know, I didn't want this or I didn't set standards. So in a way, if you want to be seen as an expert, use confident language, frame it in a way that they have more benefit working with you than you with them. And that's also mindset aspect. I'm very big on mindset that way, and also on language, to just frame yourself in a way that it's like confident and you have expertise and you believe in yourself. And then just by writing it down and getting repetitions or doing mock sessions, you get like proof like, yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. And because that's a new way of doing things, that needs like time. But the more you step into that identity, the more people will follow, you know. Oftentimes people treat you as you treat yourself, and they treat you as you set the standards. So that's something that is also very, very important. Maybe tell a bit about the effect of the bio, and that we updated it, your pitch, and on your LinkedIn and Upwork.
Yeah, well, as the bio was taking shape, with whatever I had, I kept updating my online profiles, and that meant tweaking and changing it almost every other week. Well, who cares? Like, you know, you just get a number of people who visit your page, so never mind. And I really enjoyed checking the number of hits and reactions. Sorry, that's like going off. But what ended up happening was, after I updated my bio on LinkedIn, the first week I had 3 big agencies approaching me and asking if I would be willing to work with them. These are translation agencies. One of them is one of the largest in the world. It's called 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗘𝗥𝗔𝗧𝗦. I was super fascinated and impressed with it. They want my legal knowledge, by the way.
And they with you?
Hopefully, yes. And ever since then, this tendency hasn't stopped. I have people writing me on weekly basis, and even got jobs and projects through LinkedIn. And the same thing happened on Upwork. I regularly get clients reaching out to me and inviting me for interviews and to join different projects. Yeah. So something totally unexpected happened, because even after we had found the structure, and I was very pleased for the bio, how I present myself, how I talk about myself. And I felt like I could totally identify with it. There was still some kind of a doubt, confession here.
Yeah.
There was still some kind of a doubt in the back of my mind. Oh, I don't know, will this work me? Now what? You know, this is the thing. Now what? What's the next step? But then, you know, when I started to get all the messages and the invites for joining different projects were happening, I was like, oh my gosh, this actually works. This works. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it was super impressive, and it worked like a scrubbing tool that slowly started to scrub my doubts away. Like,
Yeah, I'm very happy that you got people contacting you and it was like your passion, because oftentimes, especially when we're an employee for a long time, there's sometimes a difference between what we developed expertise in and what we actually would love to do and who we love to work with. And often that takes some time to get clear. That's why I'm often talk to clients like, I could do this and I could do this. And then sometimes that familiar voice, like, I'll do this because that makes money, or that is the familiar. But then I see like the enthusiasm getting higher when they talk about a certain aspect. And then of course you want to test it if it works, but that is like, yeah, that's where your passion, that's where your growth, that's where your learning lies. And you can speak more from a place of really being excited about it. And especially when you're a freelancer or consultant or coach, you want to make sure that you follow something that you can become your own boss and you feel comfortable of showing up consistently. And, you know.
Yeah. And just as a side note, for example, on LinkedIn, one of those agencies that approached me also specialize in translations for training, coaching, self-development, whatever companies. I didn't even know that there were agencies that, you know, were more like a niche company, something that I am doing. But they found me, and they were among the first people who found me. I was like, okay, well, it works.
Yeah, and especially now with the whole COVID thing, I think more and more businesses will go online or want to branch their audience, make more revenue. So I think that will definitely be even more popular in the future. Could you tell a bit like why I'm different than other coaches, or
Phil, this is a tough question because I haven't worked with another coach. But I can say what I appreciate and what has been great working with you. How about that?
Yeah, or say, who do you think should work with me and who shouldn't work with me?
That's a tough question. Okay, so what I liked that you held me accountable for the things I agreed to do. That was really what helped me to actually achieve the goals and the different plans that I had set. I think one of the most important things has been that despite of what I had in my head, like what I needed and what I wanted, the way you put together the program was something what I really needed at that time and that moment. So to make the most of the process and of the time that we spent together. I really liked all the materials that you sent me. The books for reading as a resource material, just because I've been very curious. People who are out there and love reading, please don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
But you can learn so much. Phil is your man, go-to man. He will be able to give you lots of great books to help you. So I really appreciated and I like the materials that you put together, the examples to show, or not to really to show, but to help helped me kind of have an idea of wrap my mind around what was supposed to happen because I was completely new to this whole process. And I liked the video calls, our discussions, and the fact that we could record it, or I could record it, and I could go back and re-listen, watch, especially in the second half, because it was packed with so much information and so many things that I'm still using ever since, like, as I'm going through the different points where we got to the self-branding and the marketing part. I keep going back and rewatching and listening because there's just so much. It's basically impossible to digest everything at once. And the other thing that was super helpful was the recap you send after every session with the action points and the summary of the session. That has always been super helpful for me to set goals for the time between sessions and create my own plans and actually do them. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, I always want to give my clients a toolkit that is not just ending with the mentorship, but they have like a lot of toolkits to work with their productivity, with their mindset, with their marketing and sales. So it's a process. Entrepreneurship is both a business journey as a personal journey. And I think as a mentor, you make yourself progressively more unnecessary, and it stays something that you keep working on. So I like to keep my things practical, to the point. I love people who are direct. I don't mind people speaking their mind and being direct with me, because I'm also pretty direct, but not in a judgmental way, but just because, out of the benefit for the client and people who have a long-term perspective like you did, that was going to be a journey up and down. It's not like, hey, Phil, do one call and then suddenly all my business and life will be transformed. Like, that's not me. That's spammy, scammy marketeers who are good at marketing and horrible at service. That's not me, because I know that I'm glad that you invested in like 6 months, because you know that, that's a time to live get in the way or get insights and give feedback, because then you have a whole range of experiences that you can reflect about, For anybody.
Sorry.
No.
Just, I was considering committing to 6 months had been super scary. I remember the first couple of days when I was considering actually doing it, I was going back and forth between, I really want this, I need this. And then on the other end of the scale was, you're crazy, you have no idea what you're getting into. Plus it's too expensive. COVID is just, on our doorstep. How are things gonna go? What's gonna happen? You won't be able to pay this whole thing. So I had a lot of stuff going on in my head, but I really was at a place in my life where I knew I had to stop, and it was time for me to reevaluate where I was and what I wanted to do. And I knew that I needed help. That was the starting point. And at that time, I just weighed up all the benefits that I could reap from this program. And instead of looking at all the things that were trying to scare me, or the more daunting side of the coin, I was like, no, I am committing to this. I am committing to myself, to giving a chance to actually become somebody better and do something that I really want to do. So
yeah, then you're like all in, and then okay, I can finally get the feedback of everything I was thinking I would do for so long, and now I'm finally like going to go for it. A lot of times people have when I'm in a good mind state, when I'm a good productivity, when my sales go well, then I hire a coach. Well, I'm like the exact opposite of the best thing. When you're at a low point and somebody can help you get out of it and still see, you know, how you feel at your lowest and work with that and give you all the tools, that's actually the best time to do it. Sometimes I have this in productivity, like, yeah, I have too much work going on. That's the best time to get a productivity guides to save time, you know? So also with COVID, especially if you want to set up a business online, like, oh my God, it's COVID, will I still have a job? But on the other hand, it's also like, yeah, if you can create your own job and if you can become your own employee, then you create security in yourself in a world that is like chaotic and very dependent on the job market. You can create the market yourself. So
yeah, exactly.
That's having a conversation between the old you and the new you that's not manifested. And that's like tension, especially when you hire a coach or mentor for the first time.
Yeah.
But I want to honor you to take that jump and then say, okay, I'm going to go for it. And that's also having trust in someone and saying like, okay, you know, I want to be taken care of. So that's also why I value that a lot. Brave people who make that jump and then get my undivided attention. That's why I only work with a select amount of clients, because then I can, you know, like show up fully. So, and here we are 6 or 7 months later. So time flies by, right?
Oh
How do you look at the future right now? Like, how do you see yourself developing?
I have found my direction, and I think that's the most important thing. I have always known that I love what I'm doing, and I have a passion for writing and serving people. I would love to, what I want to see happen, I would love to set up a website, get my materials in order. I still have a lot of things to complete. I probably have tasks for the upcoming weeks of this whole year, however much we have left from 2020. And I would love to, I work part-time at a law firm. I would love to let that go and go completely.
Shall we do a fun, comfortable exercise?
Oh, no, what?
Just at the end, and then you can drop your link so people get in touch with you. It's also something that people can... Let's fast forward 5 years. We did this exercise way back in the beginning, the 𝗖𝗟𝗘𝗦𝗧 exercise. Imagine it's 5 years since I coached you, and you're 5 years in the future. And you look back like, oh my God, Phil, I still remember 5 years ago that we entered the mentorship. And then describe a bit your life, your relationships, what you're doing, what you're teaching, what you're studying, what your business looks like. I just end a bit with that fullest, powerful, confident Anikó, like let's say 3 to 5 years from now. And let's just talk like fast forward 5 years and we look back.
Here's some dreaming happening live.
Talk like it happened. Talk in the present tense.
I'm working with some of the market leader companies, not just in Hungary, but in the region and worldwide. My favorite one is the Flow Group and 𝗖𝗟𝗜𝗘𝗥, because they are youthful, energetic, and have a lot of exciting programs, especially for the younger people. And they want to reach out and reach the younger generation and develop their own skills with a completely new methodology, not the old school boxed type of programs. I'm also being invited to interpret at self-development conferences, not just in Hungary, but also internationally. And I also have developed a couple of great working relationship with other professionals, and we work in team. We are adding new languages to the team, not just English and Hungarian, but other languages of the region like German and Spanish and some of the Central European languages like Romanian and Slovak and Czech, etc. I already have my website up in several languages, not just English and Hungarian. And I have a great schedule where I totally have the freedom to take as much time off as I can or as I want, because I'm working with the people that I want to, and I'm getting paid the fee that I find deserving. That's a good way of saying, right?
How much are you making?
How much I'm making? Okay, here's dreaming again. I don't know. I don't know. I have to think in euros. I'm terrible with maths, please. I'm from the humanitarian type of, what is this, humanities side. I am not good with calculating.
We're 3 years further. You're stepping in your most confident self, so you have more time and more money to do. This is video gonna be there in 3 years, and you can still take a look at it.
Oh my goodness. Can we skip the number part? I can't project the number. I don't know. Because I'm calculating in Hungarian forints, I won't be able to calculate in euros.
Say it in forints then.
Okay, so my monthly revenue in forints, Hungarian forints is between 2.5 and 3.5 million forints. That's about
people can calculate it.
Don't know how many euros or how, yeah, I have no clue how much. Sorry, never mind. Okay.
So at least 3.5 million forints. That's amazing. And last question, how is your creativity looking like? What are you doing? Because I realized in the coaching that was also something that you would love to spend more time on and that fulfills your soul.
Yeah, I would love to get back to singing.
You are singing.
Yes, I am singing. I am singing, yes. And I had found a great band that I can play with on regular basis, I wanted to say. What else? Yes, and I'm back. I'm dancing. I'm dancing again. Ballroom dances. One of my favorites. Tango and salsa. And waltz. English waltz.
With a nice dress?
Oh yeah. Just gliding in the room. Yes. Yes. Bright pink or light blue. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's sometimes what I do, right? Holding up a bigger vision and having people speak from passion and see things like at the best level or the most excited level. Like how was that exercise for you to do it?
It was fun. It was fun and enjoyable. In the very beginning, when we did this exercise, it made me cry 6 months ago, because I realized that I was completely scared and I was afraid to have a dream, and I was holding myself back from dreaming or daring to dream and daring to expect something good or something better in the future. So I'm very thankful for this process and for the development of where I started to where I am right now.
Well, I'm very excited to see those ballroom pictures in the future and then go to a live gig and, seeing you make at least 3.5 million forints per month or more with your international team. That sounds pretty exciting, and I'm always interested to see my clients grow and step into their higher, best, or more integrated self. For everybody who want to get in touch with you, find out more about what you do, what should you check out? Where can they find you?
Probably the easiest one is on LinkedIn. I will send you the link below. You can contact me with your own vision questions, requests, and I will be happy to get back to you as soon as I can.
Yeah, I'll drop some, if the website is there, I'll drop it in the future, and some Upwork that people can get in touch with you, or with your international website in the future with all the languages and the team. People can check it out there. I just want to take a second to honor you of having the bravery to invest in something that you didn't know what was going to give. You showed up fully by doing the exercises, especially the deep and vulnerable work, which is often what a lot of people avoid. You had a lot of willpower, perseverance. You want to give people a great experience. You showed up professionally. I know when people hire you, they really hire someone that they're in good hands of. So it's been an honor to work with you and be your guide and still follow up your growth. So thank you for being you and stepping in that better version that I keep on seeing in you, and that was destined to happen, you know.
Thank you, Phil. It has been really a life-changing experience. So if you don't want your life to change, don't hire Phil. But if you are ready, if you're ready and not afraid of change, don't miss out on this opportunity. It's going to be great.
You heard it, everyone. If you're ever interested in a high performance mentorship or client closer mentorship, you can just also check it in the description. You can find a short survey where I ask some questions, and then we'll figure out if I have enough spots left, and we can make some magic happen together. So thanks for checking in. It's always a pleasure to celebrate the journey with one of my rockstar clients. So it's been an honor, and I'm glad to know you and have you in my life. So